Right, we can all get started. Good evening. Welcome to the latest live Police and Community Tasking meeting for Selly Oak Ward. I'm PC Paul Jones. With me this evening is Councillor Karen McCarthy. We also have PC Secretary Carl Barrington with us in the audience, acting as our online facilitator, a role which I will explain in a moment. Thank you to everyone who has joined us here at Frederick Road, Selly Oak, and also to those of you joining us online. I'd also like to thank the Christian Life Centre for the use of their venue tonight. Can I remind everyone in the audience that this meeting is being broadcast live via the internet, so please refrain from using bad language, and when you have a question or comment, please keep this to the point. Not looking at anyone in particular. So for our online audience, you can get involved tonight using the hashtag #AskSellyOak via Twitter to ask a question or make a comment. Boom, I'll just turn the volume down on this.
That's the delay in case you start using bad language. We'll try our hardest.
Right, the facilitator role is to put online questions to the panel, support the panel in answering the questions, and to update our social media as the meeting progresses, and also to provide key messages from the force or the local party union. Obviously, which is what Carl's doing for us today. Tonight's agenda is first up is updates from the previous priorities. Number two is the crime and ASB update for the ward. Thirdly, any questions from yourselves and also people watching online. Fourth is the priority setting, and five is also the AOB. So if we go straight on to the first end, the priority updates. Basically the begging, particularly Bristol Road, Selly Oak. On the tasking meeting of the 24th of November, you said there were regular incidents of aggressive begging occurring outside or near to Dixie Chicken, Bristol Road in Selly Oak, which is causing residents concern regarding their safety and for those involved. Our commitment to you, we will work with local residents and shopkeepers to identify offenders and deal with them in the most appropriate manner to reduce this offending. We will work with partners to ensure all means possible are used to resolve this offending. Since then, we've got an update. We've researched all the calls for service in the vicinity of Dixie Chicken and have identified 10 potential suspects who may be responsible for aggressive begging, who have been causing antisocial behaviour and also breaching the alcohol restriction zone. A number of these individuals have been dealt with for the restriction zone breaches, and have been dispersed from the area. We will continue to target these individuals during the next month and will propose that consideration should be given for this to remain a priority for the community. We have narrowed these 10 suspects down to a handful of individuals. We're in the process of gathering evidence to put in place injunctions and or criminal behaviour orders when the opportunity arises, and we'll be utilising our new dispersal powers if appropriate. Just remember, if you're watching online, you can get involved tonight using the hashtag #AskSellyOak via Twitter or Facebook to ask a question, to make a comment. So the current policing priorities that we have, number one is obviously burglaries of houses within the Selly Oak and Bournebrook area. As you will hear in a moment, we've achieved some really significant reductions in this crime type during the past few months. However, the risk remains on the run-up to Christmas, with homes left empty over that period. Number two, also robbery in Selly Oak and the Bournebrook area. Again, this was a threat early in the year, and although we have seen reductions in the area and have made some really significant arrests, this remains a priority as we enter into the new year. Right, some good news stories. Officers will be working extra hours over Christmas and January, targeting the Bournebrook area to reduce burglary, public place violence, and also the begging that we just touched on. Regarding the public place violence, in terms of assaults, public order, etc., it's reduced by 12.5% year to date. and by 30% since the 18th of October this year, when all the pubs and also the student guild began using the breath kits on entry to the pubs. Hashtag Deep Breath runs until the end of the year. Full analysis of this initiative will be completed and also published in January next year. Right, we've got some crime and ASB updates for the period October and November of this year. Burglary of houses, December 2014, there's actually been a 75% increase compared to the same month in 2013. So that's 7 offences compared to 4 this time last year. 6 of these offences have been in the Bournebrook area. The main method that's been used is basically doors that have been left unlocked, both front and rear doors. So we can only stress the importance of locking doors, not just closing them behind you, and making sure that also the gates are locked and not closed as well. To put it in context, although a rise in December during the critical period of September to December, we've reduced burglary by 12%, which means 22 fewer victims during that time. And also for November 2014, there was a 15% reduction compared to November last year, where there was 11 offences, 2 in Bournebrook, one of which 6 offences in the one house where there was 6 independent lockable rooms, again through insecure rear and front doors. So again, the importance of locking doors, not just closing them behind you. The second one, there was 2 in Lodge Hill Road, Gibbons Road area, where a male was arrested for these and was currently investigated for 6 other offences in Kent and also in Selly Oak. Then we lead on to robbery. For the month of December this year, we've got a 33% reduction compared to December last year. 2 offences compared to the 3 that we had in December last year. Both of these offences were isolated and not part of a series. It stresses the importance of personal safety and awareness when you're out and about. For November this year, there was a 150% increase, where we had 5 robberies compared to 2 in the same time last year. The context of that, one was inside a house where a mobile phone has not been given back to the owner after threats have been made. And apparently there has been a suspect who's been identified regarding that. And there was also 2 robberies of a delivery driver. Again, a suspect has been identified, so investigations are ongoing regarding that one. On to vehicle crime. December this year, there's been no change compared to the same period last year, where there's been 8 offences, 4 of which are Ford motor vehicles, which are being targeted by a specific group of offenders who are currently under investigation.
Is that something specific?
I believe it's in response to, I think, delivery and sort of white transit vans. Right. But that's all I can really say on that at the moment, because it's being investigated. It's
not something like the mini mirrors?
No, something like that. And November 2014, there's been an increase in offences, 11 compared with 3 last year. It's mainly theft of number plates and parts from vehicles. Main offences occurring overnight in the Bournebrook and Selly Park area. So it's just so remain vigilant and report any suspicious behaviour. Now we're going to antisocial behaviour. December 2014, there were 21 calls for service in relation to antisocial behaviour, which were mainly loud parties in the Bournebrook area. This is similar to last year's call levels. There's actually a 12.5% decrease compared to this time last year, where we had 24 calls. And we come on to total recorded crime, which is actually down by 0.5% compared to the same point last year. Although a number of crime types such as burglary of houses have decreased, other less serious crimes have increased, for instance theft from shops and also theft of fuel offences. Remember, if you're watching online, you can get involved tonight using the hashtag #SellyOak via Twitter or Facebook to ask a question or make a comment. Well, this is the part where I hand it over to questions to the floor. So if anyone has anything to say.
Yes, I've got a question about parking on the pavement.
Yes.
I've got into trouble twice last month by telling off people to park on the pavement in Ferry Road. Now, the one recommended I found you, what number would I find to get some sort of response for somebody can clear it up because they don't think I notice it at all.
In regards to which number, for that instance, I would dial the 101 number. Yeah. If you have also access to email, use the neighbourhood email account, which we can, if you haven't already got it, we can provide that with you at the end of the. Yeah, if you dial 101, as it's a long term. The only problem with that is because obviously there's other immediate calls that go on which is sort of affect person's injury, something like that, where it's considered parking, unless it's immediately blocking sort of the drive or access or anything like that, you need to get away. It's very rare we've got the response to call out for that straight away. It's more of a sort of a neighbourhood priority, which is us as neighbourhood officers, we would deal with that.
Sorry, the Ferry Road's not a very busy road, of course, but it means that you've got to walk in the road because they're completely blocking the pavement. I mean, half on and half off. Completely blocking it so you can't get past. The one was a workman, which, what do you do about workmen?
If these are persistent offenders with this, different every time. But if you want to make a note of the registrations, by all means, if we're on duty and the call comes in, we'll get there as quickly as we can.
I've never seen either of these before, but it was in a couple of days. And then you get a mouthful of abuse for saying, excuse me, I can't get past here. And they automatically say, go on your own, and I say, no. People are for payment, cars are for roads. But then you start getting the names abusive.
Well, what I'll do, I'll mark that up then as a priority.
Well, I mean, it's not very often, but it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even had a coach who's teaching a driver how to drive, doing a 3-point turn, going 15 foot up a person's drive to do a 3-point turn. And I told him, I said, I'm not too happy with that 3-point turn you just committed. And I look at things on your farm, you know.
The best thing for if you want to start getting registrations for any vehicles that are doing causing obstructions, then obviously we can follow up from there if you want to pass them on to us. In terms of sort of access, we do it on a rule that if you can get a buggy or something like that past, they're blocking the road if you can't get one of those things or a wheelchair down.
I'm aware of that, but these were actually fully across the pavement. One was at 45-degree angle, right across from side to side. It means you either go right to the garden or you should have gone on anyway, because there was space. I don't know why they do it. And the other one was doing some work in the school entrance. And he just said to me, "Phone police then, if you're not happy with what I'm doing."
Well, I'll put it as a note as one of our patrol strategies then, and then we'll sort of pay particular attention. Is there any sort of times a day where it's happening?
Well, I always come up this road at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I always say, somebody breaking the law. But my wife keeps saying, keep your mouth shut, you'll get stabbed. That's what I keep getting.
Right, well, I'll put it down as a patrol strategy, and any cars that are seen to obstructing pavement, then they'll be ticketed, simple as. And hopefully that might start getting the message across.
Cycling on the pavement as well, which we bring off every time. I saw a person in the police force was immediately driven out by a cyclist and he never even said anything fully on the pavement. You know, I thought he was well, excuse me, get off your bike. I mean, you never prosecute, you just give them a bit of
I can't comment on what's happened in that instance because obviously I wasn't there. But if we can just start keeping it regarding the parking and I'll mark it down, then hopefully I'll get officers down there over the next few weeks, and hopefully we can give you an update.
Probably
for the
come
next
down,
few
there's
weeks.
nothing going on, you see, this is one of the,
But the fact, if we're there and we seem to be doing the right thing and everything, hopefully it'll put a stop to it. Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Reservoir Road,
Yes.
speeding. The cars speed up and down there, terrible. Apparently, now this is only my hearsay of somebody else. There's an ex-policeman who is working at the windmills, watermills. I'm going back to that. Watermill School. He's the caretaker, and he has taken numbers of cars and sent it to the police. And he's had nothing back. Now that's all I can tell you what they were telling me. But I'm saying on our behalf, the speeding is terrible.
Yeah. Is there any particular area of reservoir? Is it completely throughout?
It's throughout. I mean, they come down sometimes over 60. You know,
So we
there
get
is
more
a
traffic since we have that new islands. They're coming up our road, so the volume of traffic now is just.
Right. I'll look into that. I'll see if we can get hold of any traffic data equipment and see if we can look at sort of getting, so we can start recording the speeds of cars coming down.
We've done that
Yeah.
about 4 times.
Yeah.
The thing is, probably you're right, they say that we have to be on show doing this. But as soon as anybody sees you, they slow down. I think what you need in that situation is one of your vans with a speeding thing in it that they don't know is speeding.
We've asked for a 20 mile an hour limit early, before the whole area gets it. But we're told that the data doesn't support that. But it is a problem. It is linked. It's got worse because traffic's running to avoid the new road. And we've also asked for a Safer Routes to Schools project. So we're trying to get that.
I mean, to be honest, some of the ones that are speeding are the others.
Yes.
Is there any possibility of looking at speed bumps in the end?
Not without some data to support it, which there isn't at the moment, because what they go on is accident data.
Yes. Somebody's got to be killed by those.
I mean, I've just seen regarding obviously changing it to 20 mile hour speed limit if they're not following the 30 mile per hour speed limit.
There is that. But some more community speed watch and whatever else we can do. And as was said earlier about parking, if it's something that people don't ignore, if officers are in the area, if they don't ignore it, if they see it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of speed operations down there myself, and it's like you said, because especially if it's a long stretch, if they see it, but genuinely, by the time that they have seen you, you've already caught them with the radar. So the times I haven't actually had anyone for speeding.
Well, I've had quite a few, and of course, all they've done is sent a letter to warn them. And I think they should be sending a letter to, you know, whatever you do, fine them, because if they get a few fines, they won't be so happy, you know.
Well, what I'll do, I'll look into getting more traffic operations in that area then, so we can target them more with the speaker.
I mean, the children aren't at school now after Christmas. It's very, very dangerous, it really is. And we've got a lot of old people up there.
I think rather than a fine, you ought to take the car off them for a month.
Right, so I'll put that on as a priority speed in Reservoir Road. Okay, next question.
Yeah, look at Gibbings Road as well.
Gibbings Road.
It's started to the race track again.
You need to talk to Highways on that one because they have got some recent data.
Yeah, that's
on
some
that.
strips
Yeah,
of
some strips done, yeah.
I think they've got some volumes of the book.
Okay, I'll put that one down with Reservoir Road then, and we'll start doing some more operations there. I'll look into that data and see what's coming out of that and see if there's anything that we can do to sort of reduce speeding on there. And I think we've got any questions coming through on Twitter?
No.
Nothing through?
I'm just repeating the questions that obviously already been asked.
Anyone got any more questions?
Well, I see the cars are still jumping the lights, red lights on the Bristol Road, always, from all directions. I don't know if it's, you know, is there going to be any monitoring of that? Maybe, you know, the rush hour, the ones who want to get round the corner into our lane before the traffic comes across.
So is it,
And they're still going round
is it that junction in particular, or is it all across the Bristol Road?
all across the Bristol Road, nobody wants to stop.
The other end of the triangle by Frankie and Denise is bad as well.
Yeah.
In both directions.
See Chapel Lane junction.
But also the Bristol Road, you know, if it goes to amber, just as you're going through and you think, oh, should I have stopped? You then see in your rear mirror 3 or 4 cars carried on after it's changed. And the Chapel Lane traffic, the same, they just keep coming.
At the last meeting, there was some talk about coming down from Northfield on Bristol Road, going to Arbor Lane. There's going to be, what was it, Paris on the road.
Yeah.
Made clearer, so the middle lane was straight on only. Has that been pursued?
Amy took those issues away from the ward meeting. That included the cowling that's needed. When you're coming from, we all know, coming from Hornville Lane heading towards town, people get confused about which set of lights is which. So Amy, we're talking about, I don't know what they're actually called, but the sort of cowls with shutters so that you can only see the ones that you're immediately coming up to. Haven't had a reply on that yet, as soon as we've got it. And there's also the issue, again, coming towards town, the middle lane, people are turning left into Harbour Lane. Well, we've had Scott Thompson standing in the road, stopping people before now. Yeah.
And I think that's a problem, and as soon as that stops, people just go back to doing it again. I think what we'll sort of look at making that again prior to that junction, and just do the same thing we did last time, and basically start pulling drivers up on it and try and get the message across.
See, we're not in the middle of the lane and that one to the left. I'm assuming everything in the left-hand lane is going to the left. If you get a taxi or a bus, it's going to happen.
But also, if you're in the left-hand lane going to Sainsbury's, you think you can go for that lane, and suddenly you've got somebody.
That's right.
That may not have worked on camera, but you know, you're going a wide turn, heading eventually to Sainsbury's, and somebody else is making a sharp turn from your right. It can be quite scary.
I mean, I understand there's lots of work being conducted on the Bristol Road at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that going to affect that
Possibly
junction?
not, because that's more dealing with pavements, making crossings easy to use further down. We can ask that question once we've got a reply from Amy. But they all came to our last ward meeting and heard all these issues, so hopefully we'll see some progress on that.
Okay. Well, I'll put that in then, along with the speeding, that junction regarding the lights, and also the left turns from that middle lane. And then hopefully I'll try and get Scott Thompson to sit on there again.
Well, I think Scott stood in the road there.
Yeah.
Full uniform.
Yeah.
And the man asked him to move, so he could turn around, so he could go down in the middle lane, to the left. And Scott was there saying no, and he said, excuse me, I want to go down there.
Well, I think that just indicates that the people who are doing it just think that they're not actually doing anything wrong.
Oh, that's right.
And it's all
The
about
problem is
educating.
when they want to turn left, the rule is usually you get into the left-hand lane in the last 50 yards or so. But when the traffic's heavy in the morning and there's 200 cars waiting in this queue, some of them can't wait, they come down the outside, all the way down to this crossing, and then suddenly shoot off left. That's because they can't get in, so they're going to allow us to get in earlier.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. Have we got any questions concerning Twitter?
Well, that will affect modular if they get in earlier in the lane. Because the problem is, they get in the lane earlier, right?
Cuts like your road.
You know what I am on the corner?
Yeah, the thing is, how it was explained to me is that at the moment there are only 2 points where you can legally move over.
Yes.
One is positioned for turning into Lodge Hill,
Okay.
and then to go on and turn left. And there is some kind of marking that means
Where you're supposed to cross
it's
over.
described as making it porous.
But that's
So
an issue with that.
No.
That doesn't mean
but it would just allow people to do what they're already doing, apart from those who are just going straight down and cutting across. So we'll see what they come up with.
Okay, so we've got a question from Twitter.
It's not so much a question, I'm still talking about obviously the junction with the Harborne Lane, Bristol Road, using the middle lane, carrying on obviously the conversation that you just had. And what come in is sounds like that junction's a long-term issue for Highways Department. Do you have enough officers to police this all the time?
In terms of officers, we've got enough officers to cope with basically what we have on the area. I think regarding this, it needs to be something put in for a long-term measure. And that's obviously something we could probably work alongside the council with to see if we can sort of appease obviously what you've been saying about the problems with the junction. And I don't know if you have any sort of ideas at the moment.
Well, we've had highways officers out looking at it, as well as people involved in the new road scheme to see what they can do as the next phase happens. We've also had Amy, who are responsible for the road maintenance and keeping the existing markings up to date and the signage and so on. And they also do the lights. So we've got people working on it. I mean, we're not just saying a police matter to.
Okay. Well, I think what I'll do from my point of view as well then, if I sort of try and collect what data that we have, any reports of any accidents, collisions we've had there, and see if I can provide you with those just to see if it's sort of helping things out.
Could you install temporary mobile cameras looking up the Bristol Road at the lights, seeing the offenders that are coming round that corner? Also, who would be jumping the lights?
From a police point of view, I couldn't really tell you because I don't think we have the access to those cameras to be able to do that.
Well, there was 2 cameras there some time ago, and both been removed. One was on the lamppost outside the newsagent, which is now closed down. There's a camera. It was originally on the corner of Langley's Road, so we could look at Langley's Road, Bristol Road, Module Road, Frederick Road, Bristol Road. That was taken down and moved further down Bristol Road outside the shops. But that's gone.
The questions about the cameras that were in that area, those were not traffic cameras.
No,
and I don't think the cameras that are looking for antisocial behaviour necessarily pick up enough detail on a vehicle to be able to.
And I think that's the issue because and it would ultimately turn into a fishing trip if we were literally trawling through hours and hours of footage from any camera just to see someone run to a red light, and that's not something obviously that the police would do. No.
But the ward committee that had the various officers.
Once it's filmed, anybody can look at it.
But like what I'm saying is, if someone reports that a car has done this at this time, then that's fair enough. If the camera's available, then we can get the details off that car. But the majority of the time, the quality of these cameras aren't able to pick up the registration plate off the vehicle. But if you're stating that, say, 3 cars have done a red light in the past 3 days, in those specific times, we haven't really got anyone to sit there for 3 days worth of footage to try and find these vehicles, if you understand where I'm coming from on that.
But there are protocols about who can look at.
Well, I don't think you can feed the information back, look at a certain time. It's just a thought.
But the meeting that we had was only December, so as soon as we've got some response from the various people that we had there, then we'll be able to feed that back.
Well, maybe it was a false camera. Wouldn't have to give them a sense that would be much better.
If it's a what, sorry?
False camera.
The false camera.
We put some dummy cameras up.
Right.
Just, you know, psychologically, you see
I
a camera.
don't think the driver will notice it.
Well, I think the problem is as well, if we start talking about false cameras, especially when we're broadcasting live, people are going to know that they're false cameras, aren't they? So.
It was only a proposal.
That's all I'm saying.
Right, do we have any more questions on Twitter? And have any more questions from yourselves?
Can I raise,
Yeah.
since it looks as if the cold night has kept people away, the question of Watermill Close. It's somewhere that officers regularly have to come out to try and get parents to behave sensibly, beginning and end of the school day. Residents are unhappy about the proposal to build on a garage site and a site that's used for parking at the moment, and we're hoping that there would be some support from the police for their opposition. Shall I write to Inspector Henstock?
Yes, by all means. I understand we have had long-term problems with parking issues around there, and obviously we've helped out in the past. We've provided cones and everything just to prevent people parking illegally. And if there's going to be sort of things being built that's going to cause even more problems with the parking, which will then ultimately create an extra strain on police resources. And if that's proven, then I don't see why the police wouldn't be able to support it. But yeah, if you write a letter to Inspector Henstock, then
I'll do that.
I'm sure he'll be able to give you a response. Okay. Well, I think that's everything for the questions. Oh, you got one more?
There's a question about the cameras on the down in Bournebrook area to detect robbery and burglaries.
The cameras, what's that?
Down in Bournebrook area to detect robberies or burglaries.
Basically, the cameras are down in that area to deter and prevent most offences. Nothing actually specific. They've been up there for a good couple of years now. And they've been used from things for antisocial behaviour and also to help with detecting burglaries in the area. So that's pretty much what they're used for. Okay. Right, so if we just recap, look at the community priority settings from this meeting. Obviously, as we mentioned before, we're going to keep begging on the list in response to the Bristol Road. This remains, it sits a work in progress, which requires a long-term approach. And as we said, we are looking at trying to get some form of injunctions out on these persistent offenders. Now we've been able to identify them. And if we also put down, obviously, speeding for Reservoir Road, and also look at the junction, it's Chapel Lane, Bristol Road, with obviously cars turning left.
Harbour Lane.
Sorry, Harbour Lane.
The speeding at Gibbons as well, if you can.
And Gibbons along with Reservoir. And then also Watermill Close, which you're going to write to Inspector Henstock.
Yeah, and it's quiet in Bournebrook at the moment, but right up until the end of term, people were still saying that there were particular problems on Dawlish Road. I did see in town that where there are new flat developments near pubs and so on, there are now signs saying, please be quiet, leaving these premises and that kind of thing. There's actually signs on lampposts. So I wondered whether those were a police initiative.
That's something we could obviously look at doing. Obviously, we've put a lot of signs up on lampposts over there, and I think there's a lot of council signs up there as well. I think we might have to start putting up more lampposts in the area just to accommodate these signs.
It's just a thought.
Yeah,
Because they're actually round metal signs rather
Yeah.
than the sort of plastic notices.
Yeah, we can start
I'll see if I
looking
can
at
find out anything, but if you see if anybody knows as well.
yeah, we'll see there. We'll speak to the landlords of the pubs as well, see if they're interested in having some sort of input with that, any signage and everything that they can put up.
That'd be good.
There was an article in the paper today about the sign. It was placed on the curb in this, I think it was somewhere in Kent, where the sign was in Romania, because the bulk of the criminal activity is to do with Romanians. Mostly they're pickpockets. And this sign was warning them that there was plainclothes police in the area, so do not pick any more pockets. That's what the sign in Romania.
If ever that became a priority in Selly Oak, which it isn't at the moment, then obviously we'd look at sort of ways of reducing that. Because it's not affecting Selly Oak, and obviously it's not something we need to look at the moment. Okay. Right. The next meeting is Monday the 19th of January, which is at Ealing Church at 7 p.m. And the game will also be live via our YouTube channel. Links will be provided.
We have got one further question.
Okay.
Are you using your US ASB powers to tackle the begging issue in Selly Oak?
Yeah, obviously we're utilising all these new powers that have been handed to us. And as I said, we'll be looking at obtaining injunctions to curb the offending regarding the begging on the Bristol Road. So, yeah. That's it. Okay.
What date of the next meeting here?
The next meeting here hasn't been confirmed yet. I imagine it would be towards the end of February, but what we'll do, we'll put it out there as soon as we get the date. But I'll just
Sometimes we get, somebody rings us up, but other times they don't. So.
I'll make sure that everyone gets the date for the next meeting here. Okay.
Thank you very much.